Hi there and welcome back. So in this video we will learn about the input element in a little bit more details, and we will just explore different types of inputs which we currently have inside of HTML. So let's get started. To do so, you have to go to this URL developer.mozilla.org enus docs web HTML element input, or you can just search on Google like, hey, input element in MDN, and it should open up this web page. Here we have this web page regarding the input element in HTML. Currently we have seen some type of inputs. One of them is text, one of them is email, one of them is password, and another one is type of number, right? But there are a bunch of other input elements as well. So input types here. So there is the button type, there is the checkbox. As you can see, I can just check or uncheck. There is this color input, and this is like by default it is being shown inside of the HTML. You don't have to create it from scratch. There is the date input, and so on and so forth. So wanted to just show you those input types, and just wanted to have some discussion around that. So let's try to implement the color picker, like this color input inside of our web page as well. So do something like input type of that will be color. Okay, and that can be a self-closing one, and let's do color picker, and here label, I can do that as well. So which will be something like color picker pick color, and then inside of this id will be color picker, and name will be color, something like this. So let's go to our browser and see what happened. As you can see, there is our color picker. Okay, and here is our color RGB, and we can, when we click on that, it converts to HSL. Click once again, hex, and so on. We have this color picker as well, which I can just use to grab one color inside of my screen. I can slide it out here. So yeah, and let's see when let's go here, and when I submit the form, what happens. Let's see that. Okay, yeah, and here, if I just copy that and paste it out here as a comment. Okay, let's just go here, comment it out. Just wanted to show you the color value, which is %2, and this is the hex value of the color. And again, the hash symbol inside of the URL bar, it is not interpreted as the hash symbol. It is replaced by the Unicode characters. And you have noticed that like, hey, this username equals to, and then this and symbol. So what it basically means that username was empty, email was empty, password was empty, and so on and so forth. So suppose what you want to do, basically you want to like validate the form, like, hey, you want to mark everything required. If user is missing some data in our HTML form, you do not want to submit the form at all. So how you can do that? So there is one other attribute inside of the input element which is called required. So let's mark this username as required, and there is nothing like this equals to or something like that. No, this is all. If I do something like this, required, and go to the browser once again and just go here, refresh, and when I will save and just click on this submit me without any sort of inputs, see what happens. So there is the message like, hey, please fill out the this field, okay, and our form is not submitted. If I do some add some password as well, but again username is required, right? So you can mark everything as required as well, and what I will be doing currently right now. So required, okay, then email is required, password is required, and then we have the age required, then the color, let's do that as well, required, okay. So every input is required inside of our HTML form. Now I can show you something. Remember, we wasn't able to see the benefit of using the email type of input here. Now we can see that. So if I go here, first of all, like everything has to be required. So like username is there, email is there, password is there, something, age is 10 for example, and the color picker color is something like red. But the thing is, look closely. Now if I just click on submit, we get another message like, hey, please include an @ symbol in the email address. So what this is doing under the hood, this input element, it is checking for a valid input pattern. Please remember, it is checking for a valid input pattern, not a valid email address, right? It is checking for a valid input pattern. So as usual, you have seen like all of the emails which we have has to have the @ symbol and the domain, right? It has to have that. So if I just add the @ and then DDD or something like that, this is a valid pattern of the email. This is not a valid email, but this follows the email pattern. Now if I just save, as you can see, our form is being submitted, I believe. Yeah, and please Chrome, don't do that. And this URL has all of our data which we expect, right? So yeah, just wanted to show you the basic form validation, and that is basically it. And also all of the type of inputs. One of the type which we have recently learned is the color input. There is another one which is the date time local. Like as you can see, there is the time and the date as well. So if I just select this, so this is it. The email, the file, if I just click on it, which I will not do, my file explorer will open just to upload the file. So it is beneficial when we want to upload some sort of profile image or some sort of video or something like that. So we use the file input in that case. We have the hidden, the image, which is not loading for some reason. I'm not sure. The month. Okay, so let's do something like this. So this is the month. This is the number which we have used. This is the password. We have the radio as well. So this radio, this range, like this slider one, it is all inputs. Okay, the reset input as well. By the way, just wanted to clarify, like, hey, there is this button and we have the native button element inside of HTML. So what is the difference and why there is two things? So by default, the button has some default properties and it is type of submit, right? So this default, like this input, like, hey, a push button with no default behavior displaying the value of the value attribute, empty by default. So this is like a stripped down version of the button, you can say. I rarely use this. I do not use that quite often, to be frankly honest. I use the button element. Again, we have this checkbox. This is one another input. we have okay, there is this tell input. So sometimes you might have encountered something like this. You are inside of a website, and when you want to enter your phone number, your keyboard is numeric. There is no like the characters or something like that. So this is how they do. They set that to the tell type of the input. Okay, we have this text, which is the generic. Okay, let's get back. Then we have the time, which is this URL, which just looks for like a www dot something domain.com or something like that. It is, again, it is not checking for a valid URL, it is checking for a valid URL pattern if that is followed. And we have this datetime as well, which is obsolete, so we shouldn't be using this. Okay, and here if you go all the way down, there is this bunch of like the documentation here, but just I want to show you something. Yes, this chart is the representative of everything, like, hey, which browser supports what and which browser do not support what, right? So yeah, this is basically all type of inputs. We will discuss some of them, like something like this checkbox and the slider and so on and so forth in the next video, I believe. Yeah, we will discuss those in the next video. Okay,